WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. We are preparing for what we hope is an epic duel. Certainly nothing quite like that Rams-Chiefs game a couple of weeks ago that this guy witnessed. He has covered the Kansas City Chiefs for a long, long time. ESPN Nation reporter. You can find him out on Twitter as well as at the worldwide leader at Adam Teicher. That's Teicher. And I got to tell you, Adam, every time I put your name in my calendar, it spell corrects to teacher. But you know that already probably. So how are things in Kansas City other than you've got an interesting team, a drama-filled team, and a team that thinks it can win the Super Bowl? It's a pretty good year to be on the Chiefs beat out there, right?
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on right now, but it's been a very interesting season, and I'm really curious to see how it's going to finish up. You know, whether the Chiefs can continue what they've got going, because while they score a lot of points, they give them up almost as fast. So it's going to be an interesting finish to the season for sure.
Yeah, I think all things get put into perspective. And I literally on Friday night or Saturday, I don't know where the hell I was doing something over the weekend, and Ray Rice popped up on TV talking, and I'm like, what's he doing there? And then I realized I worked the story backwards, right? And I went on to Twitter. I'm like, what's happening here? And I saw the story, and look, man, you've been on that beat a long time, and I ran into Scott Pioli on Sunday in Atlanta, and I was there the Eric Winston day and the Matt Castle day, and I know you were as well. And obviously, the scene in the parking lot there a couple of years ago is beyond any description. And I know you had to cover it and write about it. I don't know where you put the Kareem Hunt thing, but I know when you put it in the middle of the season with a key player in an offense and what went down and where the league is and all this, it's something that Andy Reid is fully equipped to navigate, but it's something that the offense and the team and the organization is going to have to navigate here in the coming weeks, and something I think people are going to be looking at, because being the best team in October does not make you the best team in February, right?
Yeah, and if you're just talking purely from a football sense, the Chiefs will miss Kareem Hunt. He was a key part of what they did. He was a big play guy, and it's not like they'll play with 10 guys without him, but they don't have a back that has quite the capability that Kareem Hunt does. So the Chiefs survived nicely, scored 40 points in Oakland the other day in their first game without him. But maybe against better competition, certainly they're going to see some on Sunday against the Ravens. Interesting to see how that all works out.
Well, it's interesting you'd say that, because I would say out loud, and I think I've had this conversation with Joe Flacco privately, the Ravens have missed Ray Rice ever since he wasn't there. They haven't been able to replace that, and we saw Alvin Kamara come in here a couple weeks ago who represents that, but that is a pretty special guy. I saw Sproles still running around for the Eagles the other night, returning punts and scoring touchdowns and doing what that is, which is being able to protect the quarterback in the passing game and being a guy who can run hard, run away. We saw Adrian Peterson run away from somebody on Monday night, but certainly that kind of back, that doesn't grow on a tree, and we've been here for years now trying to replace Ray Rice or that kind of guy who's going to represent 100, 150 yards a week in your running and or passing game while protecting your quarterback.
Yeah. So, the Chiefs have a lot of other threats, particularly at the tight end and in Travis Kelce, and in wide receiver in Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins, if he can get back to full health. And he didn't play last week, but at some point you aren't what you are if your guys are missing. So we'll see what happens here with the Chiefs. I feel like they have enough where they can overcome it, but that doesn't mean they will. There may come a day where his Kareem Hunt's absence really hurts them, and we'll find out maybe as soon as this weekend.
Well, Adam, as far as the big picture and the narrative of all this, they begin the week with, bye week and losing to the Rams and playing this game and being rested, and Mahomes out doing good deeds in the community, and everybody feels good. Everybody's feeling like maybe a bye, and, maybe this is our year and we got the right kid to... They hit the bricks over the weekend. They find themselves in trouble out in Oakland, and now these two games sort of represent a whole lot. And the Ravens are going to be a big part of this because we play the Chargers Christmas week as well. So the AFC West is going to dictate us, and we're going to dictate part of the AFC West as well. But this is the first of two games in 4 days, and these are the two bigger games for them, because if they find themselves on the bad side of this 10 days from now, this would be the difference between them having a bye and playing at home versus going on the road, because the Chargers are sort of peaking right now as well, right?
Yeah, they are. I mean, that was a big-time comeback by the Chargers in Pittsburgh the other day. When they got down 16 points, I thought they might just get buried, but they fought back and they won. So credit to them. So, yeah, the Chiefs have a lot of work to do here. And, these two games are now the two biggest of the season for the Chiefs. And if they can win one of them, even if they lose to Baltimore, even if by beating the Chargers, they'll still probably win the division. But, they've got some work to do here. I mean, this is a huge, 5-game stretch or 4-game stretch for them coming up here. And, the one advantage they have in all this is they don't have to travel. Both these games are at home, so the Chargers are the one who have to make that long trip. And I think on those short Thursday night weeks, I think the team that has to travel, particularly if it's a pretty good distance, is really at a disadvantage. So I think the Chiefs have had to go to Oakland a couple times on a Thursday night in the past, and they haven't played very well. So I think that's going to be a real advantage for the Chiefs.
No one plays well on the road on Thursday night, I don't think. Adam Teicher joining us here. He is with ESPN and the worldwide leader out in Kansas City. Always makes time for us. And, of course, we're headed out to Kansas City this week. I would say, where is the vulnerability in the Chiefs? And we talk about Hunt and where all that is, but I think the vulnerability is 87 points they've given up in 2 games. And this is an offense that's going to look to run against a defense that doesn't do a very good job of stopping the run. I guess that's where this thing becomes interesting, because over the last month, Adam, I've been watching this for 20 years. I've never seen anything like the defense's inability to stop a run when they know it's coming on first down, because there's just a confusion about stopping this offense that defenses haven't been good at this over the last month, and I can't imagine they're going to break from this, and Lamar Jackson is not going to be out there running right, running left until the Chiefs can get him off the field. It's been hard to catch him.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game is very interesting on a lot of levels, and everybody's talking about the number one scoring offense against the number one scoring defense, and that's very intriguing. But I want to see how the Chiefs handle Lamar Jackson, assuming he's going to play on Sunday. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of levels to this game. You look at historically. You get this late in the season, you get a number one scoring offense against a number one scoring defense, and the offensive team almost always wins. I think there's been 5 cases in the last 20 years where this has happened late in the season, and the offensive team has won 4 and scored a bunch of points each time, too. So even in the loss, they scored, I think it was 34 points the number one offensive team scored, even when they lost. So it's kind of been seems like these matchups, for whatever reason, favor the offensive teams. But you throw in the weakness of the Chiefs defensively, you throw in the impact of Lamar Jackson, you throw in the fact the Ravens seem to be playing pretty well right now, and I don't know what to think about this game on Sunday. I think it's going to be interesting. I think the Chiefs are good enough offensively. Well, they'll score some points and. Give the Ravens some problems that way, but will they score enough? I mean, they've had to score a ton this year to keep ahead of their defense, and I don't know if they can get there in this particular game. Maybe they can, but we'll see.
Adam Teicher covering all things Chiefs out in Kansas City. All of our WNSD coverage brought to you by our friends at Charles Nusinoff & Sons since 1923. True love comes in all shapes and sizes. Something for everyone's budget out there for the holidays. So make sure you're thinking about that. If you're thinking about her, think about them. Charles Nusinoff & Sons, my pal Sydney. They also buy gold out there. See them in Parkville, right off 695 at charlesnusinoff.com. Also, our friends at King Discount Liquors, lottery, beer, booze, and the best prices in Baltimore. I need to get me some spiked eggnog and some Malbec for the holidays. Go give the King a ring and see Johnny Bev. They are in Rosedale. Adam Teicher is in Kansas City, where the Ravens will be coming in and trying to stop Kelsey. I almost said Jason Kelsey. I'm watching the other team in Green play. This has been a big issue for the Ravens. Big tight ends, not just Gronkowski, and I know historically Tony Gonzalez created these matchups for the better part of a decade and a half. half, and we'll be knighting him in Canton as well soon enough. But the Kelce factor and what that represents for the Ravens across the middle, they've really had trouble stopping this kind of player, especially on third down, Weddle and Jefferson. But the issue the last few weeks has been the offense has kept the ball away from the other team's offense, our offense. And when you play a second half and Matt Ryan only touches the ball for 6 minutes in the second half, in the road, that's a nice little recipe, and part of this is just going to be getting the Chiefs off the field on third down, which I know has been very, very difficult for, let's be honest, every one of these teams to do week after week.
Yeah, for sure. And Kelsey's been a big part of what the Chiefs are doing offensively. They don't win that game without him in Oakland. The Chiefs, they had a big lead, and then the Raiders are coming back and just moving the ball down the field and moving it down the field. And the Chiefs got the ball back, up by 3 points. It was 33-30, and they really had to. They really needed something from their offense. And at one point, they appeared stalled. They had third and long, and Kelsey got open on a third down play and took him right down inside the 10. And the Chiefs ended up scoring a touchdown. If the Chiefs don't make that pass to Kelsey, they got to kick a field goal, and the Raiders have timeouts left and about 2 minutes left. And I think the Raiders are going to come back down and score the winning touchdown. So the Chiefs really needed that play, and they got it from Kelsey. So he is a difficult guy to deal with for a lot of teams. And if the Ravens have problems with him on Sunday, it wouldn't be the first team to have that.
Adam, you've been around for a couple of administrations and three, and a bunch of quarterbacks as well. And this was the kid that they drafted the highest, and going back to Len Dawson, for crying out loud, or the mid '80s, whatever it was. Did you see this coming this offseason? I mean, was there any thought that what Philadelphia or L.A. maybe captured in a young quarterback, or even periods of time Deshaun Watson, or even Dallas a couple years ago with Dak Prescott, that this would be a year that it could be this good? And I know it's far from over with, and to both of our points, if they stumble over the next 10 days, it could really trip up any thoughts that I'm going to be visiting with them in Atlanta when I'm there 8 weeks from now for the Super Bowl. But they certainly appeared to be on that trajectory, and I don't know that most people saw this in the offseason, but you're around the team a lot. Was this expected in your mind?
Well, probably not to this extent. I mean, Pat Mahomes is almost on pace to set an NFL record for touchdown passes in his first season as a starter. I mean, nobody saw that coming. I mean, that would be a lie to say that. But I think the Chiefs thought they would expected him to play well. I mean, they didn't. Some teams or some people were thinking this was kind of a rebuilding year for the Chiefs, maybe an 8-8 year, a step back season, and then they could go for it again next year. And the Chiefs didn't feel that way. I can tell you that. I mean, they thought they were going to be good, maybe not quite like this, but they thought they had a chance to go for it here, and they were right. I mean, Mahomes was good from the day he stepped on the field, and the Chiefs are benefiting from all that. So to this extent, probably not, but certainly the Chiefs thought they were going to be a division championship contender at the very least, and maybe a team that was capable of going deep in the playoffs. So if a lot of people are surprised by what they've accomplished, this isn't one of them.
Well, I guess
the Chiefs aren't one of them.
The student will meet the teacher here again, and it's not too often that John Harbaugh and Andy Reid get together, but there is all of that tree and where they are, and Andy being there. Mahomes brings Andy a new life, right? Like this may be 5 or 6 or 7 more years for Andy before it's all over. Whether maybe Andy wins, but I think anybody that's come in contact with Andy or dealt with Andy at any point kind of pulls for Andy, and I'm one of those guys. And I know for the Harbaughs and the Petersons and the guys who sat under him, they sort of pull for him as well. This is about as good as it's going to get for him over this arc of the next couple of years for a real opportunity for him to hoist a trophy, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think so. I think, this is the team he's sort of been waiting for his whole career. I think, he wanted to build a team that was so multifaceted and so versatile and so dynamic offensively that it could overcome whatever obstacles the defense might put in its way. And, I think he's kind of done that, and that's what the way the Chiefs have played this year. So I think this is the team. It's fair to say this is the team he's been waiting for. Whether that means it's his best team, excuse me, we'll have to find that out. I don't know that you can say that yet. But when I say the team he's been waiting for, this is the team he saw in his mind's eye. So, we'll see how it turns out for him. But, the way things are shaping up for the Chiefs, they've got a lot of good young players. And if they make the right decisions going forward here, I think they can be, excuse me, the New England maybe of the next 10 years or so. I mean, there's no reason they can't be good for a while. I'm not suggesting they're going to win 5 Super Bowls in the next 10 years, but they can sort of be that team in the AFC that people need to get past. So, I don't know what kind of decisions the Chiefs make. They have to do some things defensively, of course, if they're going to sustain this. But the way it's going now, I think the Chiefs are going to be good for a little while if they draft well and are smart in free agency.
Why has the defense been so bad? Maybe that's its own loaded question. But when you give up 87 points in this league in 2 weeks, even though you're good enough to score 91, it still begs the question of God, how do you get to be that god awful on defense to give up those kind of points?
Yeah, well, the raw numbers are a little bit misleading. Maybe they weren't against the Rams, but the Chiefs have had a bunch of games, and the Sunday game against Oakland last week was certainly one of them, where the Chiefs had a sizable lead and let the team back in it and kind of had to sweat at the end. But there was some good defense being played at times before those moments. So, I saw a stat earlier in the year, and I probably need to look it up again, but the Chiefs defensively, when they were leading by 7 or tied or behind, this was through 4 or 5 games, maybe early in the season, they were the number 1 defensive team in the league at that point, believe it or not. When a game was close, they were getting some things done. They were forcing some timely 3-and-outs and coming up with some turnovers, those kinds of things. So a lot of the yards and the points they've given up, believe it or not, have been, I don't want to call it garbage time because they kind of had to sweat at some of the end of these games, but they've come when the Chiefs have had a fairly sizable lead, and the Oakland game was just another example the other day. But there have been other games. They started off with a big lead in the season opener, excuse me, against the Chargers, and kind of let the Chargers back in the game. The next week in Pittsburgh, the same deal. The Chiefs had a big lead, and the Steelers came back on them. The Chiefs were up huge on the 49ers earlier in the year, and 49ers kind of came back and made the final score respectable. So what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of yards and a lot of damage being done against the Chiefs defensively when the game seems like it's out of hand. So
I'm familiar with that. I watched Vinny Testaverde in '96. When you're losing 38-10 at halftime, you come out and you throw for 250 yards in the second half. But that is part of it. But it's also sacking the quarterback and some of the stats that come from the defense, where you're like, well, when you're up 3 touchdowns, they're going to pass and you're going to get to them at some point. It really is about wins, and I mean they've only lost 2 games by 3 points to 2 teams that might be in the Super Bowl. So to downplay it, we're just trying to find chinks in the Chiefs' armor here, Adam.
Well, it's a problem. I mean, it's something that they're concerned about, and they need to be concerned about it. But having said that, the Chiefs do rush the quarterback pretty well, and when you get a lead, as you know, you can kind of get after the quarterback. I mean, you can make that a priority. So if you only do one thing defensively, defensively, and it's rushing the quarterback, then you're doing that's a nice little tool to have in your belt there when things are going bad for you, that you can rush the quarterback. And the Chiefs have been pretty consistent about that. Started off a little slowly in that area this year, or early this season, but have really taken off in that area. And I think they're second or tied for second in sacks right now. So, it's not a complete disaster over there. They just need to, and maybe Eric Berry might be coming back as soon as this week. So we'll see about that. But I think he'll help if he can come back on Sunday. So, or certainly whenever he comes back, he'll help because they haven't been very good at safety without him. So, I think this thing isn't the total disaster that it might look at just if you look at the numbers.
I'd like to be a disaster at 10-2 right now. It'd be a good disaster to be at. Adam Teicher joining us here from ESPN. You can find him out on Twitter as well as at the Worldwide Leader and covering the game on Sunday. Always great to catch up with you, man. I'm sorry I'm not making the trip here this week, but maybe there'll be a playoff trip next month. I told John McClain, maybe Houston, maybe Kansas City, maybe Pittsburgh, maybe New England. We're just hoping to be playing in January at this point. We were 4-5 a few weeks ago.
Yeah. We'll try to get you some barbecue if you're not going to get to town.
Oh, man, you just got to put it in a box and send it out here. I'll eat it stale. I'll tell you that. Appreciate you, Adam. Thanks for coming on, bud.
Hey, anytime.
You got it, Adam Teicher. That's Teicher. Don't let your spell check you into him being a teacher, although he is a teacher, Teicher. And he's also out at ESPN and the Worldwide Leader. Been covering the Chiefs forever. Tens of thousands follow him. So if you're into the Chiefs' kingdom, as they say, you know who Adam Teicher is. You can find me out on the buy at Toyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. I remember people used to say, we can't hear you on the radio, Nestor. Mobile device. It works, man. Just anywhere. Just download it. All brought to you by our friends at buyatoyota.com. Morning newspaper gets delivered each and every day digitally to your email inbox. That happens at 7 a.m. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. $5 down, $10 a month. It's warm inside. And they got great weights and great entertainment and the lunk alarm, and they're always judgment-free. They'll also train you up, get you on a program to get you to optimal health here this winter. Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Also brought to you by the Maryland Jockey Club and our friends at Laurel Park. They are racing there. The sports book is open. The crab cakes are tasty. And the beer is cold. Get on down to Laurel Park and celebrate some racing. If you haven't been down there lately, you got to see the new sports bar and sports book. It's fantastic. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. And when the Orioles finally hire a manager, we will send it to you on the WNST text service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis will be here from 3 until 5 on Thursday, driving you home. It is the SSV on WNST. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.